Welcome to Foundation for India Studies. It is an Indian oral history project done in collaboration with the Houston Public Library and the Houston Community College. Our guest today is Mr. Bhaskar Rao Mutyala. Mr. Mutyala, welcome to the Foundation for India Studies. Tell us what part of India you come from, and when you came and your journey in this country.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sure.
My name is Bhaskar Rao Mutyala, and I was born in Kakinada, which is a district headquarters and also a college town.
What state is it?
Andhra Pradesh.
Andhra Pradesh, okay. Yeah.
And we are about 8 siblings, 7 boys and 1 girl.
I see, yeah.
And my elder brother and my sister got married and they are on their own.
I see, yeah.
And we are 6 boys staying with the parents.
I see, yeah.
And my father never went beyond grade school.
I see.
So
yeah.
he wanted his kids to have highest education possible. So he worked hard and earned money and he put funds away for his children's education.
I see, yeah.
And unfortunately in 1956 December, he died.
I see, yeah.
And at that time I was 18.
18,
and other 5 boys are from 6 to 14.
I see, yeah.
And I decided at the time I should do my best to achieve his dream. So I worked hard next 3 months, and March I had 57, I had inter-final exams.
Yes.
And I had first class and got admission in government engineering college in the town.
Yeah.
So I joined that engineering college.
Oh, I see. So when did you finish your engineering college? This was in Kakinada?
Yeah, Kakinada.
Okay.
All my education and all my stay in India was only in one town.
I see, yeah. See, most people think Andhra means Hyderabad. How far is this from Hyderabad?
It's about close to 400 miles.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, mine is a coastal town.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And so it is, so I finished about in 61.
I see, yeah.
Then I joined as a lecturer there.
Yeah.
And by that time, my next brother joined in MBBS in the same town.
I see, yeah.
So I thought it's the best time for me to come to United States.
I see.
And do my masters here for 1.5 years. And do practical training another 1.5 years. And go back and start an industry. Take care of my brother's education.
So this was back in 56, 60s?
61, I finished, I graduated. And in 1 year I worked, and in 62 I came to.
I see. How difficult was it for you to come to United States in 62? As an engineer, I know as doctors, we had much easier paths to come to the United States.
For engineers, it is easy in a way for graduate students.
Is that right?
Because the Reserve Bank permit gives the, once you have the rupees, the Reserve Bank gives the permit to convert into dollars.
Okay.
The University of Michigan gave estimate like $5,000 per year.
Oh, I see.
So the Reserve Bank approved $5,000 per year to bring. Once we have the rupees there, like I said earlier, my father had the fund set up. So I came with a Reserve Bank permit. And I came to the University of Michigan and had started my masters there. And once, originally, as I said, I was going to go back in 3 years. Study there 18 months and work 18 months and go back. But while I was at Michigan, I realized the undergraduate engineering is much better in this country compared to India.
I see, yeah.
So, and also I realized achieving my father's dream is easier in this country than in India.
So what particular field were you in?
Mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering, I see, okay.
And so I told my brothers, if they want to do engineering, and it is better come here after high school.
I see,
And so one brother, I started job in 64. And in 65, one brother finished high school and he came.
I see,
And he started college here.
I see,
And I was at working in Battle Creek, Kalamazoo area. So I started working. I started my MBA in the evening program.
I see,
so I can have I can go to the university where I can look after my brother also. And then 66, another brother finished high school. He wanted to come. He came in 66.
I see,
And in 67, I went home because under Johnson immigration law, we all got green cards, quick.
I see, yeah.
And before I was in waiting list, but when the bill passed, the green cards came right away. So I went home and I got married to Sita in 67.
Yeah.
And she finished her 12th grade a few days after the wedding. And being smart, she, even with all the wedding and everything, she was third in the high school.
That's pretty good.
And when she came, she started college here. And in the following year, 68, my last brother came.
I see, yeah.
So in 4 people in college.
So in addition to doing your master's, you helped several of your brothers and also a wedding.
Right.
So that's very good. Yeah. So what did you do after graduation?
I worked in various US corporations like Clark Equipment, Brunswick Corporation, Pullman Standard, 20 years as an engineering management. In Michigan, in Indiana, in Alabama, and my last job is at NASA in Houston. And it's a 20 years of engineering jobs.
So in what capacity were you at NASA?
At NASA, I was in the design, in engineering, actually Lockheed, working for NASA. I was engineering specialist, it's kind of senior level.
I see,
And we did design shuttle for 13, some support structure for large photo camera structure.
Oh, I see,
I was only short time there because by completing 20 years, I decided that I should become an entrepreneur.
Oh, that's...
So
what year was this?
83.
83,
Yeah, I finished 20 years of engineering jobs. So I became an entrepreneur, starting a small auto transmission shop in Stafford. And after a few years of that, then get experience, joined 2 more people, and bought a franchise system. We moved from San Antonio to Houston, the headquarters. It was already in San Antonio. We moved here and we expanded, and we became, Atlas Transmission became #1 in Houston in number of stores.
So you manufactured the products, or it was just...
No, it's a service side.
Service side, oh, okay,
Because actually we were originally wanted to start an engineering corporation. But my partner, who is a Korean and American, and at that time in 82, Houston bust.
I know.
And the engineering firms, they are giving keys, they said, take over.
Is all right?
So we said, no way now. So we had to do something. So we, so we started a service.
I see,
repairing the automatic transmission for cars. Then we started some body shops and quick oil changes. So I was, in the small business, even though we sold this franchise after 5 years due to my partner's health situation, we did business about 25 years.
I see. Oh, that's pretty good.
And, it was good. We contributed to Houston economy, created jobs.
So how many different service centers did you all have?
In Houston, we had more than 20.
I see.
And in Texas, close to 40.
Is that right? Oh, it's all over Texas?
All over Texas. It's a franchise system.
So from there, where did you go?
Retired.
Retired.
Last 5 years, it's a retired life.
Okay, let's talk about some of your personal life in terms of children and and your social activities. What kind of things you believe in, like social, spiritual, cultural?
Okay. Like I said, I married Sita, and she finished her 12th grade after the wedding, and all her college happened to be in this country. She had a bachelor's in Purdue University, computer science, and had a CPA license. And also she did MBA, executive MBA while working for Chevron in Houston, at University of Houston. And she, my wedding to Sita happened to be the best thing happened to in my life. We are a, beautiful, we have beautiful partnership. She helps me in achieving my goals, and I help her achieving her potential. And she is a true companion and forever friend. And she helped settling all my brothers and all that situation. And to give one example how she good accommodative is, several years in Houston, in my house, my mother and my mother-in-law both were staying.
I see.
Several years, not
is
days.
that right?
And we never had any complaint. She's that accommodative.
Yeah, it's a real challenge.
Right. And our daughter has a Sirisha. And she got a medical admission at UTMB just after 2 years of college.
I see,
in her class there are 200 people. She and one boy are only 2 people without bachelor's degree.
Is that right?
He's very smart. And she is a pediatrician now. And her husband is an emergency doctor.
I see,
And he with a few other people started a faster care.
I see,
the emergency.
I see,
They're in
so where do they practice?
In Dallas.
In Dallas?
Yeah.
I see,
Then I have one son. And he had pre-med in Penn State.
I see,
Medical school at Texas A&M. And 12 years he was out of state doing radiation oncology residency and fellowship at Harvard. And a job, academic job at Albert Einstein in New York.
I see,
And while he was working in New York, Scott and White in Temple, Texas, invited him to start the radiation oncology department at Scott and White. He came as a chairman of the department. He started the whole department 3 years back. And he enjoys working there. He's a chairman. And he also started a radiation oncology residency program at Texas A&M.
Oh, I see, So now he's in Texas A&M?
In Temple, Texas, his job.
And but it's part of Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. He's associate professor in Texas A&M.
Oh, that's good.
And my daughter-in-law is an attorney. And she had health law from University of Houston. And she did MPH while they were in Boston.
I see,
And she worked in children defense type of organization in New York. And now she's doing PhD in UT, where her health law and MPH are useful. And they live in Austin.
Austin, that's good. So did you all experience the cultural clash when your children were growing up? Because they are exposed to the American children, the customs, and in the school systems. And did you recognize any sort of a difference?
Well, for them there may not be difference in one sense.
That's true.
And actually it is a blessing for them because they have best of both worlds. Because from parents they have the Eastern values.
That's true,
and religion and all these things, and here the local. So since we are immigrants, so we are so conscious. We spend a lot of time with the children. So they have best of both worlds. So they never had any clashes or never complained.
Because some kids from Indian families, they have some difficulty adjusting to the requirements of our Indian culture being strictly enforced while they're growing up in the in the
luckily we didn't have any clash, and they are well settled, and they are always good in school. And my wife wrote a children story book titled "What is Vamana Saying?" And Vamana is a Indian Andhra Pradesh saint and philosopher, and he wrote a lot of poems.
Is that right?
And his all the Eastern values are there. Actually, they're mostly universal values.
That's true. Yes.
And that book got 2 prestigious awards in this country. And Mom's Choice Award for values and life lessons, and National Parenting Seal of Approval. It says it's a treasure, and every kid should have in his library.
So this is in English?
In English.
Okay, what's the title of this book?
What is Vamana Saying?
What is
Vamana Saying? And this book, since
it's available in Amazon and all.
It's available in Amazon. And
What year was this published?
3 years back.
3 years back. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Amazon and also, you know, my wife has a self-publishing and sells too.
I see. Oh, that's pretty good. So did you have any publications or writings yourself?
No, I had technical papers while I was working. I was in research.
Yeah.
And I got 1 or 2 patents.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. What about cultural activities and things like that? I know you spent a number of years in Texas and especially in Houston area.
Right. When we were in Chicago, we were founding members of Greater Chicago, Telugu Association of Greater Chicago.
I see, yeah.
When we came to Houston in 81, Telugu Cultural Organization is already there.
Yeah.
ICC is already there.
That's right, yeah.
So I'm a trustee in the Telugu Cultural Association. And we are active. You know, we used to have a Telugu school for all the kids. Now, at that time, in 81, the facilities are not like now.
That is true.
Now there are 4 places, Chinmaya Mission, Meenakshi Temple, and you know, Ashtalakshmi Temple, like that. At that time, we used to have the Telugu school in houses.
That's true, yeah.
You know, all these 30 kids.
Yeah, most of the religious organizations were held in somebody's house.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had in our house for a few months, and then somebody else's.
Yeah.
Every 3 months we changed the house, and my wife was one teacher, and you know, several teachers, volunteer teachers.
So how has this cultural association has changed from 20 years ago to today? Because you know, we hear all these different factions within the community or your own Telugu community.
Well,
you know, sort of competing.
Right. One is, you know, they became bigger because of the numbers increased. And with the biggers, you know, they get also in competing organizations will come. So in a way it is good, you know, the competition is always good.
Good, yeah.
And you know, as long as, you know, it's a healthy competition. It's not like a political type thing. It's not only for positions will be that part. But as a whole, they're all.
For people, I think, you know, they have different choices to make. And so, were you involved with the cultural associations as like president or trustee?
I normally always like to work back, you know, behind because at Chicago, one of my brother was a president of Telugu Cultural Association in Chicago, and for TANA, which is a national organization, one of my sister-in-law was a president. She's in 35 years of TANA, only one lady president that happened to be my sister-in-law. So I always like to be behind the scenes. And you know, except in Meenakshi Temple, I was in the board for 12 years.
I see, yeah. So what kind of activities were you involved with the Meenakshi Temple?
In Meenakshi Temple, I was in the board. You know, when we first came in 81 to Houston, that's when they started building the main temple. And we also put a brick for the temple.
I see.
And then we, you know, when I in the board, I was in the trustee. To make, you know, make Telugu community active in Meenakshi Temple. As a trustee, I was instrumental in bringing several Telugu priests.
I see, yeah.
And also made sure the Telugu festivals like Ugadi are celebrated on a regular basis.
Oh, I see. That's pretty good. And as your kids were growing up, did they learn Telugu and were they well versed in the Telugu activities and all this? Yes,
there was a Telugu school. You followed like first 5 grades, bring books from home.
I see.
You follow here and make them graduate. But you know, they do, you know, they get only to some exposure. They can understand.
I know, yeah.
And they can speak, you know, understanding is better, first level. Speaking is next, with an accent and all.
Sure, yes.
And writing is not that good.
So what do you think is going to happen to all our all subcultures from India? Like, you know, I'm from Karnataka, and of course I spoke Marathi at home. So we had 2 different languages, one in the street and one in the house. And my kids actually don't speak either language. So your kids, you know, they were exposed to Telugu and all this, and again, what's going to happen with the 2nd generation and the 3rd generation, you think, as far as all these different factions of Indian culture.
It's, I think, world becoming smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
It becomes one, and some of languages may be there, may not be there.
Yeah.
But culture-wise, I think it should be fine, because we had all kinds of temples and all these associations.
Yeah. But all these temples are all run by the first generation Indians.
Right.
And I wonder, how much our children and their children will be able to sustain the same amount of enthusiasm and energy.
May not be that much. Yeah, may not be that much. But Chinmaya Mission is run even now. Some of these acharyas in Chinmaya Mission, they grew up here.
One of the advantages of Chinmaya missions is it's in English, so they can understand.
Right.
If somebody can teach them in English,
right?
Because even if you go to Meenakshi Temple, everything is in Sanskrit,
right?
And there's nobody to explain to you what actually is happening. Like even in a wedding ceremony,
right?
Most people are just not following what is happening unless somebody translates that.
Right. And it comes because with Chinmaya Mission there's a lot of influence.
Yes.
And that's in English. And also our kids who go to Chinmaya Mission, actually they can explain why the pujas, why these things better than us.
See, the interesting, I go to BAPS, which is close to my house, and they have a pretty strong cultural hold on not only themselves but also in the first generation Indians, because most of their prayers, sabhas are all held in Gujarati, and so they have a pretty strong influence on the first generation Indians, but I'm not sure if it translates to all the other different groups.
But because of the Chinmaya Mission, and also, like for example, like this new Congress has Tulsi Gabbard.
That's right, yeah.
He's a Hindu, practicing Hindu.
Yes.
But he is a local girl, and she took the oath on Bhagavad Gita.
That is true, yeah.
And
I think, the landscape of Indian, American politics is been changing quite rapidly, and rightfully so, because like the meeting I went this afternoon, it was about the changing landscape of the people in Fort Bend County,
right,
where there are a lot of South Asian people. So I think they really have to take into account all these different things. So tell us about what other things were you involved besides your profession during these years?
Besides the profession and business, and then a lot of social work, like temple, Meenakshi Temple, and active in Chinmaya Mission, and active in Thana and the Telugu Association, those things. And in Houston we have plenty. We have ICC, India House, and Gandhi statue. And since we came in '81, compared to now, in last 32 years, Houston grew. In ethnicity population, South Asians, as well as other communities, and with that, all these other associations, as well as temples, gurudwaras, all these things, and stores, restaurants. So many multiplied.
You're right. Houston, I came here in 1980, and in last 32 years, I've seen Indian population probably has exploded. Now they say it's close to about 125 to 150,000 Indian people, and their siblings in the Houston Metroplex area, which is a pretty large number. It's something they had to really look into. And you have any kind of hobbies, and how do you usually spend your time?
Hobbies wise, I'm a motivator and advisor for countless youngsters, family, friends in India, in US, and their college, and for career planning and new business ventures. I do that. And when recently after retirement, we're going to India every year, 2 months. We do a lot of seva things there. Like we had with all my brothers, we started a high school. And we started a physiotherapy unit in a general hospital. And we put, in a village, we put septic tanks, lavatories, septic, for sanitary lavatories. things of that, got a old age home for seniors, and renovated an old temple. Like that, we do there.
Sure,
and my alma mater, my engineering college, recently you got an indoor stadium, indoor sports stadium, which is I started, and and there also use the word, he was surprised, I didn't tell them, I didn't go because this year I had a health problem. So I just opened with Cabinet Minister Pallamaraju on January 2nd, and it came in the slate. They wrote my name on the top, said project originator and motivator. It took 8 years. It's a government project.
I know it takes a lot of time, especially with the government.
And here, like for example, Houston gave so much for our jobs and our business environment and excellent education for our kids. So we, for the children book, which has universal values, we donated to all elementary schools in several school districts in Houston, like Fort Bend, Houston ISD, like that, Cypress, Cypher ISD, all that. And also in Texas.
The book is poetry, or is it like
it has a poem in Telugu, then English, and then a story which illustrate the moral behind that. So it is for the about below 10-year-old children. It's elementary school.
How many pages?
It was about 20-30 pages.
Oh, that's
because the children,
I know, they don't have very short
span. We also donated for in organizations in Houston, like Read for Houston, YMCA, and Fort Bend Women's Center, like that, and also in other parts of school districts in Texas, as well as in other states also. So we are donating.
So are you involved with, you had any political connections or ambitions in terms of American politics?
American politics are wonderful. That the checks and balances, the 3 department is a wonderful, and 2-party system is great. And the most important, my favorite thing is when they have more than 2 people are contesting for in primaries, and then no one gets more than 50% runoff. That is the best, because unless you have 50%, you are not representing. It's not a democracy.
That's true.
Whereas in India, people are ruling with simple majority. They get only 20% or so. They rule, which is not true democracy in my view. This is
these are all this parliamentary rules set by the.
Even in parliamentary rule, if they decide, they can have runoffs. But they don't. They didn't have in constitution. And
I guess they like to see things that are favorable to them. So are you involved in music or any other cultural type of activities?
Mostly like behind the scenes, like we made our kids do. My daughter has a veena and a kuchipudi dance, like that. My son has art and dramas in Telugu Cultural Association. We had a lot of plays. My wife was active in it. I was mostly behind the scenes.
So these are like stage dramas?
Stage dramas.
So where were these played?
Played here in high school. Or also at the end of the year after Telugu school, we used to have in Huntsville Park or something where you can camp for an overnight camp. We used to have.
That's fascinating. That's very good. So what are your future plans? Because now you have all the time.
Right. Future plans now, do a lot of Seva Karikramas here mainly, and then when you go to India also continue there. Here like Houston has all kinds of organizations like Pradham, Indo-American Charity Foundation, Daya, so many organizations are there. Right now we participate. We can get involved more. And also charities doing maybe with the universities or something. You can
see when like in 60s, 70s or 80s when you came to Texas, it was still a southern state, and people all have the perception that there's a lot of discrimination in the southern states, especially for foreigners and all this. What was your experience, after you came to Texas?
My experience, actually, I can tell you before, I was in 8 years in Michigan, no discrimination problem. 8 years in Chicago area in Indiana, no discrimination problem. Surprisingly, I was transferred to Birmingham, Alabama in 78. And people were saying, Southern. Typical Southern, and had riots and all in 60s. And so people were scaring me and all. It was to my surprising, that's the best place.
Is that right?
There was no discrimination. Our house was two doors down the country club. LPGA conducts there, Ladies Professional Golf Association. Our beautiful house. And I was there in 81. The Birmingham has majority white population.
I see,
Elected black mayor.
Is that right?
Because he is qualified, he's PhD and very nice man. And so there is no discrimination.
That's interesting,
And I came here 81 and I didn't find anything.
Is that right?
And surprisingly, a lot of people complain, at the job.
Yes, it's quite a few people, have experience, especially, I guess if you're working for like a firm, like a college or university or like a corporation, it may be different versus in a being a private entrepreneur.
Probably, because I never experienced it, because even when we first came, I came almost like 50 plus years, 51 years. When I came, there were not many, community wasn't there. My roommate was, I was bachelor, my roommate was a local guy. And even now we communicate. With all the early years, we used to communicate with mainstream. And even today, I was the best man for his wedding, and he came all the way from Michigan to here for my daughter's wedding. And it's, a lot of my friends, colleagues in the early years, we still communicate. And I never faced any discrimination.
So when you came to Houston, how many Indians were there at that time?
At that time, also, may not be 120,000. It's quite a big population.
What year did you?
81.
81. Oh,
81.
Okay, So all these associations were already there.
The Cultural Association was there,
India
and Krishna was the president at that time.
India Culture Center.
And ICC was there. And of course, Chinmay Mission might be there, I didn't know. I realized it about Chinmay Mission a little later.
I think they came later.
And Meenakshi Temple just started building the main temple.
I see,
And it grew,
So what do you see in the crystal ball for your children and grandchildren? Because they are in a different league. And of course, each generation is in a different league because, when we were growing up, our parents were in a different league.
I'll see, excellent future because, like I said earlier, our children have best of both worlds. And they got, best education. And now our children, grew up with the best of both worlds, and they don't have any cultural problem here because they're born here. And on top of it, they're good, professionals, and they have money. Besides being smart, they have money. So with that, their kids will have excellent chance to have even better education. Because our kids went to public schools. And they, also we had to wait to, they never had, lot of, tutorial, other things, early age. Now, like for example, my son is a 3-year-old, my grandson, I'm sorry, is 3-year-old. And he already second year at the University of Texas. He goes to, it seems there is a children development program at UT. And he had a class of 6 people, 3 teachers.
I see. That's fascinating.
So our grandchildren will have even better life because our children, being smart and have money compared to our level.
What about the cultural traditions and all this? You think they will be able to pick up, especially your grandchildren?
They do pick up because to some extent may not be all,
Yeah.
because of Chinmaya Mission and even Ivy League universities have the Hindu Council societies.
Yeah. I know University of Austin
Yeah.
has Indian students. It's a pretty large association, so
Yeah.
they do get to interact with the Indian community,
And also
and
with
also celebrate Diwali and all these festivals.
yeah, and also now with this Tulsi Gabbard
Yeah.
being a Hindu and getting all the publicity, and Julia Roberts, she says, "I am a practicing Hindu."
Yeah.
With so many, some of the mainstream people will be coming to the Hindu fold, and some of these
Do you
people
think
down the road.
Tulsi Gabbard is getting the attention because this is just fresh in our minds versus Bobby Jindal, when he was elected as the governor in New Orleans or Louisiana?
It's because of the diaspora, our community being very rich in education and also as far as monetary. So all the politicians has to approach, and that gives an edge for them too.
So what are the most important lessons you have learned with your 30, 40 plus year experience in this
50
country?
plus.
50 plus experience in this country.
In this country, mine is, I feel that we are fortunate to live in United States.
Yes.
Where we can achieve our dreams and reach our potential. And I will tell the people, go ahead and dream as high as you can and work hard. And also, I tell them, be a catalyst to the people around you to reach in their potential. But again, I caution them, this is a country with a land of law. So every country may have laws, but this country implements. And I give them the examples like even presidents are not above the law.
That's right,
Give the examples of Nixon, Clinton, and George Bush daughter. None of them can escape. And even our Indian American icon Rajat Gupta, by violating a minor thing, everybody thinks it's a minor thing, he cannot avoid punishment.
That's what I was going to come to. With all this free access to information and all these things, do you think people may be subjected to greediness and for like quick success, things like that?
Yes, anybody, if you go back to our scriptures, once the greed enters, you become slave to greed. And in this country, law is so tough, you pay for it. So as far as at least 1 or 2 generations, our kids, they are smart, so they should not get into the trouble that majority of them. But of course, they always have few people, and
I think it's just law of statistics, because when you have 100,000 people, some of them are just going to be just less fortunate or less able to achieve like most other people, and that's good. And so what are your future plans?
Future plans is,
you're going to be staying in the States, or do you have any plans to go back to India? Or?
No, we stay in Houston because as far as I'm concerned, I stayed 24 years in Kakinada.
I see,
and after that 8 years in Michigan, moved here and there, but 32 years in Houston. I consider myself as a Houstonian. And the weather-wise, it's just like my Kakinada. It's hot and humid in summer and pleasant spring and fall.
That is true.
And another thing is, as a senior citizen, you need health facilities. And Houston has the world's best health facilities.
Healthcare services.
All of our Indian prime ministers and presidents, they come here, get treatments. And several years back when P.V. Narasimha Rao came for his bypass surgery, he wasn't a prime minister at that time. So I received him at the airport and put him and got his surgery taken care and everything. Took him to the Meenakshi temple. So because of that, when he became a prime minister, his official US tour started with Houston. He came with a puja, started with a puja at Meenakshi temple and meeting with Dr. Cooley to thank him. And then his official tour started. So when all the, when our prime ministers and presidents are coming here, when you are senior citizens and we are lived in so long, what other place? And Houston has everything, has a museum district, theater district, professional sports.
You're absolutely right. This is the fourth largest city in the country, and you can live in a suburb and still enjoy all the amenities of one of the biggest cities in the country.
Right.
And all within driving distance.
And also for our ethnic, we have Meenakshi Temple, Chinmaya Mission, Gandhi statue, and all kinds of, India House and everything. All ethnic things. Houston has all professional teams. We enjoy Texans. We are season ticket holders.
Oh, that's good. Let's talk about American food. Did you get accustomed to the American food, or you still prefer desi food?
Good question. Huh? Well, in the early days, I didn't have choice.
Yes.
I was, at the university.
Yeah.
And then worked. There are no Indian restaurants or anything. So first 5 years as a bachelor, and my roommate was an American.
Yeah.
So we had to force it to eat, and I developed a taste.
I know.
So preference-wise, I prefer desi food.
Yeah.
But since I got used to it, I can eat anything.
Yes. What about your kids? Do they make Indian food, or they are all sort of moved on to sort of mixed?
They moved, all kinds.
Yeah.
Especially my daughter.
Yeah.
My son-in-law is a Taiwanese, born in this country.
Yeah.
And he was, his parents are migrated from Taiwan.
I see, yeah.
Actually, when my daughter was her classmate at UTMB, when she first told that she wants to marry Taiwanese, I was shocked.
I see, yeah.
I flipped.
Yeah.
I said, no way. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I was so stubborn, and I said, no way. And she said, well, if you don't want me to, if you don't, and she told me, unless I approve, she won't marry. Either she marries that guy or no marriage at all.
I see.
And it was a big trauma for her, for me, for my family, and for my brothers, everybody around me, and for 3 years.
Is that right?
And then I saw the light with the help of my wife and said, okay, go ahead and marry. And we did grand wedding, 700 people to meet, Marriage was at Meenakshi Temple, and the reception was Doubletree in Post Oak.
I see, yeah.
And it's a big wedding, 700 people.
So maybe you can explain a little more on this topic, because there are a lot of people who are in the same situation as you were. When their children come and say, okay, I want to marry somebody American or somebody Italian or somebody like German or somebody. So explain to us, what are the things that you went through and how things evolved, and then it turned out to be not as bad as we originally think it is.
Yeah. No, originally I thought it was bad.
Yeah.
And after 3 years I made...
I mean, what kind of fears run through your mind?
Fears are, just because, I was born in, grew up only one city in India.
Yeah.
So it's just my exposure, I guess. And but what turned out to be is that's the best thing ever happened, because main thing is it's her selection.
Yes.
And so she has to pay the consequences. So she may accommodate or whatever, they will be flexible. And also they both were brought up here, they don't have any culture difference, they don't have any language difference, they don't have anything. And the wedding was at 2000, so it's been 12 years.
12 years, yes.
We have beautiful 2 grandchildren, 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl. And my grandchildren are bringing up as Hindus.
I see, yeah. So this Taiwanese gentleman, is a Christian? Or
yeah, but he probably doesn't have much religion. He's not inclined.
So not too much into...
much inclined to the religion. That's why he had a wedding at Meenakshi Temple. We didn't have a Christian wedding.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting, yeah. I mean, this is a really important problem for many people, actually, as time evolves, because most of the first generation children, by choice or not, they are in these positions.
we had to go back to our scriptures saying that marriages are made in heaven.
Yeah, like one of my very close friends, both of his son and daughter ended up marrying people from different cultures.
Yes. And they work out good.
Yeah.
Scientifically, crossbreeding is good.
Mm-hmm.
And scientifically, close ethnic, close relationship.
That's
and everything
is,
medically it's not good. So on that respect is good. And then since they are all, they know each other well, and the accommodation will be good. And as long as, they are not fundamental in religion.
Yes.
And both go, pull each other different way.
That's true, yes, yeah.
Then it should work out.
That
good.
is true, because some religions are very strong in exercising their only way of following faith or
right. So as long as you don't go in that religion.
Yeah. Yeah. So what other challenges did you all come across, like after the marriage or in seeing heirs? Were there any challenges or?
No, since 2000, it's 12 years. It's smooth sailing.
That's very good.
And actually next week, my daughter and their family, 4 of them are going to Belize, and we are tagging along.
Oh, that's pretty good.
For 4 days.
Yeah.
So it's a smooth sailing, and my grandchildren are bringing up as Hindus.
That's good. Yeah.
And so it's everything is smooth.
That's good.
So I think if you go back to our scriptures, marriages are made in heaven. So that's why they get attracted to each other, and things happen.
That is true, because a lot of times parents struggle for years, and you don't get anywhere, and children have their own plans, and sometimes it just works out to be better than what parents were wishing to happen.
Right. Yeah, when you asked me about the difficulties I had when I first came, I remember first day, the day after I came to this country in Ann Arbor, I had to go see my counselor to take the courses, register the courses, and I had an accent problem.
Yes.
And he asked me, how many credits you want to take?
Yeah.
Then I asked him what is credit means.
Yeah.
He said if you take a 3-hour course, that means you meet 3 periods in a week.
Yeah.
Then I calculated in my mind, the engineering college I went in Kakinada, we go 8 periods a day.
That's right,
for 5 days.
5 days.
40, and Saturday 5 periods.
I see,
45. Then I said 45 credits, sir. He said, what? First of all, he couldn't understand my language. I couldn't understand him.
Yeah, so you both were right. You're just thinking in your own vision, which you...
he said 45 times I want to meet, because that's what I used to do, 45 periods in a week. So he said, hey, the master's is only 30 hours. In one semester you want to do. So he said, for student visa, you need 9 hours, but average is 12 hours.
I see,
You have choice between 9 and 12. What do you want?
So
the way you are speaking, I recommend 9 hours. But if you insist, I can allow 12 hours.
Yeah, but you wanted to do it in 1 year, I guess.
1 semester, more than master. So finally, I bargained to 14 hours. And I paid for it. So since I didn't listen to him, so I paid for it. I just passed. But the rest of the semesters, I was in Dean's honor list.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good.
And that is, as accent language problem I had. And in the culture problem, one problem I had was, I was working as a grader for the, top-notch professor there. So with his recommendation, wherever I applied, I got plant interviews. The first interview, the guy calls me, that's at Libertyville in Ohio, in Illinois, 50 miles from Ohio. He calls me, he says, hey, Mr. Mutyala, you can buy the ticket, or we reimburse, or we can send you the ticket. Okay, once you land at O'Hare, you go to Hertz, tell you're coming for International Harvester, and take a car, and they give you the directions. You come and go to the Holiday Inn, and next morning I'll come at the breakfast and pick you up and take you there. Then I said, hold on, I don't have driver license. The guy, other end, human resource guy, really no speech for 2 minutes.
Is that right?
Because I was in Michigan,
Yeah.
and where the auto capital of the world,
Yeah.
every 16-year-old had a license.
Oh.
And here I was in a prestigious school as a graduate
Yes,
student.
graduate student.
No license. I said, is he having some disability or what?
That's interesting.
That is a culture problem.
I know,
guess.
yeah. Yeah, I think this
So those are the little difficulties
Yeah.
I had to go through for a year or so. But other than that, no discrimination, and people are friendly in Houston and in
Yeah.
Midwest, everywhere, even in Birmingham, Alabama, everywhere we went, we enjoyed.
That's interesting. Well, it's been nice talking to you, Mr. Bhaskar Rao Mutyala. Do you have any final thoughts before we conclude?
No, it's the same thing, I say
Yeah.
that, work hard
I see,
and obey the law, and the
Yeah.
sky is the limit. And when I said somebody, sky is the limit,
Yeah.
I said that is old saying.
Yeah.
Now with, they go beyond the sky.
With the satellites and all this,
Satellites
they
and
can
all.
go
You have
That's
to change your top limit.
You're right, yeah.
So it's a wonderful country.
Mr. Bhaskar Rao, thank you very much. And Sita,
Thank
thank
you very much.
much. I am Dr. Nikam for Foundation for India Studies, Indo-American Oral History Project in collaboration with the Houston Public Library and also Houston Community College. Our guest today was Bhaskar Rao Mutyala. Again, this is Dr. Nikam. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
me.